Every prison has an economy, and I'm not talking about anything the government put in place. I'm talking about the real economy, the one that nobody tells you about when you get there, the one that was already running before you walk through the door. Every week, inmates get to order from Commissary: soap, chips, ramen, honey buns, the basics. Most guys spend what they have and move on with their week. But there is always one guy who sees Commissary differently. That guy is the Storeman. The Storeman is not a guard, he is not staff, he is an inmate just like everybody else. But he is also your landlord, your bank, and your grocery store, all at the same time. The Storeman orders everything on Commissary Day, and I mean everything, in bulk. He is not buying it to eat or to stock up for himself. He is buying it because he's running a store, right there in the unit. No register, no receipt, no refunds. Just him, his locker, and whatever he could fit under his bunk. And depending on how long he had been doing it, how much he had saved up, how much his people were putting on his books from the outside, that store could get serious. We're not talking a few snacks in the locker. We're talking bags of commissary food stacked under his bunk from the wall to the door, ramen by the cases, chips by the box, honey buns stacked up like he was building something. Sometimes the store got so big, it spilled into the cell next door because he literally ran out of room. His cellie knew not to touch anything. His neighbors knew not to touch anything. Everybody on the unit knew. That bottom bunk was a warehouse, and he knew every single item he had. No list, no spreadsheet, just memory. You tried to show him one pack of ramen, and he already knew before you got back to your cell. So here is how the pricing worked. Say a bag of chips costs $1.50 at Commissary. The store man is gonna sell you that same bag to you for $2.50. That dollar difference is his profit. Now when it came time to pay, you had two options. Option one, if you had money on your books, you would pay him back on the next commissary day. $2.50 worth of items straight out of your order. That is what everybody called running the tab. Option two, you could pay him right now, up front, in stamps. And before you say anything, I don't mean stamps for mailing letters. I mean stamps as in actual currency. Because in prison, stamps are money. A book of stamps is 20 stamps. A book of brand new stamps, never used, never touched, that is called a flat. A flat holds value. Not full retail value, but close. Then you have old stamps. These are stamps that are beat up, worn out, cannot be mailed anymore because the post office will not take them. But they never have actually been used. They still hold value, just less than a flat. So if that bag of chips costs you $2.50 with the store man, you can hand him $2.50 worth of stamps right there on the spot and walk away with your chips. No tab, no waiting. Transaction done. Now you might be wondering where everybody was getting all these stamps from in the first place. That is where it gets interesting. There was another guy on the unit called the Ticket Man, and the Ticket Man ran the gambling, sports bets, card games, all of it. He is a whole episode by himself, so I'm not going to get into all that right now. But what you need to understand is that because the Ticket Man was running bets all week, he always has stamps. More stamps than anybody else in the building. So guys who need stamps in bulk will go to the Ticket Man. They would send real money to his account on the outside, Cash App, money order, whatever they had access to. And when that money hit his account, he would hand them the stamps at his rate. Flats, old books, whatever he had available. And now that you had stamps, you could spend them on food from the store man, food from the kitchen workers, which is also its own episode. Or you could take those stamps and put them right back on the bet with the Ticket Man. You see how this whole thing connects? Money comes in from the outside, gets converted into stamps. Stamps buy food from the store man. The store man uses stamps to restock or place his own bets. The Ticket Man collects more stamps, sells them to the next guy, and the whole thing starts over again. The government has the Federal Reserves. Prison has this. And the store man is sitting right in the middle of all of it, moving product, collecting tabs, accepting stamps, running a whole operation out of a 6 by 8 foot cell. Most people paid their tab They understood the system. They respected it. You run a tab, you pay it back on store day. No drama. Most people. And then there was Lil Dre. I'm not using his real name, but I promise you, every single person watching this who has done any time knows exactly who Lil Dre is, because every unit had one. Lil Dre was a customer. Lil Dre was always a customer. And Lil Dre owed everybody. Not one storeman, not two storemen, all three of them on the unit at the same time. And the way he pulled that off was because Lil Dre had a gift. Lil Dre could look you dead in your face and tell you the most detailed, most convincing, most specific story you had ever heard in your life about why he could not pay you today. Not that he was going to pay you, not that he did not have it, just that today specifically was not a good day. His people sent the money order and it just had not cleared. His cellie accidentally turned in his commissary slip with the wrong items on it. The CO lost his order form somehow. He had stamps, but they were in his other pants. He was waiting on a settlement check from a lawsuit back home. His cousin was coming up with visits and was going to put money directly on his account that weekend. Every single week, there was a brand new story. Different details, different people involved, always very specific, always very convincing, and always the same result. 0 stamps, 0 product, 0 payment. After a while, the three storemen started talking to each other, and when they compared what Lil Dre owed each of them individually, they realized this situation had gotten out of hand. So they actually sat down together in the day room like a board meeting. 3 grown men in khakis going over a mental list of every chip, every ramen, every flat, and every old book of stamps that Lil Dre had walked off with and never paid back. It was a significant amount, so they sent somebody to go find him. Lil Dre was not in his cell. Lil Dre was not in the day room. Lil Dre was not at chow. Lil Dre was not in the yard. Lil Dre was nowhere. Now at first everybody thought he was just laying low, avoiding the situation like people do. But then a couple of days went by, then a week, and somebody finally figured out what happened. Lil Dre had caught a shot, a minor infraction, just enough to land him in the SHU, the Special Housing Unit, solitary confinement, the HO. And here's the thing about the SHU that Lil Dre understood very well. When you are in the SHU, you cannot order commissary, you cannot spend money, you cannot be reached by anyone on the unit you left behind. But your account on the outside is still sitting there, still collecting. Whatever money your people send still lands. You just cannot spend it while you're in there. So the move, and some guys did this intentionally, was to go into the SHU owing everybody. Sit in the hole for 60 or 90 days, let your account build up, and come back out. Pay everybody what you owe and start fresh. It sounds crazy, but it worked. Lil Dre had actually done it before. Went in owing people, came out and paid everybody back. People respected that. They said, okay, he is good for it. So when he disappeared into the SHU this time, the storeman figured the same thing was happening. They figured he would be back in a couple months. He would pay. It would be fine. They waited. 60 days went by, nothing. 90 days went by, still nothing. Someone finally got word to ask the CO what happened to Lil Dre. And the CO told them Lil Dre had been transferred. Different facility, different state, different zip code, entirely. He was gone. Not in the SHU gone. Not laying low gone. Actually permanently gone. 3 storemen, weeks worth of product. Chips, ramen, honey buns, flats and old stamps, tabs that were never going to get paid. All of it gone with Lil Dre to a facility nobody knew the name of. And here's what nobody tells you about the prison economy. There is no collections department. There is no small claims court. There is no dispute process. There is no manager you can speak to. If somebody burns you in there, you just got burned. That is the whole policy. The storeman is running a real business with real inventory, real profit margins, and 0 legal protection. And Lil Dre understood that better than anybody. That is why the story was always so good. That is why details were always so specific. He was not just stalling, he was running an exit strategy. From the moment he took that first bag of chips on credit, and somewhere out there right now, in a different facility, in a different state, Lil Dre is probably introducing himself to a brand new Storeman who has never heard of him, who has a full locker and a bottom bunk stacked with product. And Lil Dre is already running numbers in his head. That is prison sketches. Watch who you extend credit to out there.